Hey guys, welcome to Someone Who Doesn't Read Comics. As always, it's me, Becca.
I'm Paul.
And I'm Brian.
Yep, hasn't changed yet. Not yet.
Nope.
One day.
Thinking about it.
It's exciting.
Or we'll replace him with somebody who actually does have a different name. Or somebody who has the same name.
Or somebody who likes comics.
Ooh.
Oh, hey.
All of those things. Somebody named Brian who likes comics. That would be great. It'd be very confusing for listeners.
Anyway, we're here to tell you about all of the wonderful comics that we read. And this week, we got to read Fables.
And we read Fables Volume 1 and 2.
Yep.
Yep. So, Fables is a Vertigo title. Vertigo is a subset of DC. So basically, Vertigo is... DC doesn't want to risk their DCE name on things, so they put it in Vertigo. Which then creates a lot of really great books that aren't quite superhero books, which is really nice. And which is what Fables is. Fables is a story following Fable characters like Snow White, and you see like Cinderella and stuff in it. And it's just their story. So it's pretty cool. It's not the traditional superhero storyline in a comic. So yeah, as usual, we'll be going over story, art, and then spoilers at the end. Volume 1 and 2 are quite different, so we'll be doing the story arcs of both of them without spoiling 2 by 1, and then art for both of them, and then spoilers for both of them. So, yeah, story.
Mm-hmm. All right. So, imagine, if you will, a place. We'll call it New York City. And inside, that's a terrible idea. I don't know what. Where I was going with that.
It started out as like Twilight Zone.
Yeah, it did. Imagine a place, if you will. All right. So basically, this is. We'll just scratch that. This is set, all right, in New York City, but the focus is not on the normal, colorful people of New York City, but rather a even more fantastic group of people in New York City. Basically, all the Fable characters from like the Brothers Grimm and different storybooks. Like Beauty and the Beast, Snow White, they all are living. They were exiled from their homeland and have made their own little community, basically, inside of New York. And they have like their own little secret, like they use glamours and charms to blend in, kind of like the Muggle world, Harry Potter, Wizard world, kind of like they live inside. Yeah, kind of like they live inside. Probably the easiest way to get a grasp on what this series is kind of like is the series Once Upon a Time, only better. This is much better because it's not written by the people who wrote Lost. So
yay!
Yeah, so they give you answers, and I don't remember any polar bears. So all in all, yeah, good. I'm sorry, this is going to be. I'm off on a lost tangent here. Let's see. Okay, so basically the story of the first book, which is Legends in Exile, is centered around the character of the Big Bad Wolf. Is actually the protagonist, which is kind of fun.
Wolf.
Yeah, Bigby Wolf, as he goes. Which it's a great name. It's wonderful. Yeah, and he's basically the police, the sheriff of the little community in Fable, the Fable community. And so he goes around and he solves the crimes or domestic disputes. Like one of the early ones is Beauty and the Beast, or there's a little domestic dispute. So he's basically the police force there. Most of the time, the job is pretty low key, nothing really, until they discover that there has been a moiter. And sorry, I keep laughing at my own jokes. There's been a murder, and one of the Fable characters, Snow White's sister Rose Red, has been murdered, or at least they presume murdered because there's just blood everywhere. And so it's up to Bigby to try and track down from a list of fantastical suspects who is behind this crime. And so that journey leads him through. You meet characters like Snow White, Old King Cole, Jack from Jack and the Beanstalk, but they all have their own kind of modern twist to them. Like Prince Charming, who now lives here, is actually still really charming, but also, for lack of a better term, kind of a douche. Like, he's just kind of, like, he's still charming, but he has no money. Like, he womanizes and sleeps around. It's pretty unexpectedly horrible. But,
and
yeah.
To explain why he has no money, the reason they're there in this town is because they were ran out of their towns by...
yeah, I mean, they say that, they were run out by a...
mysterious force.
Yeah, they call...
oh, God. It was...
It's not the antagonist. It's...
Yeah, I was going to say, they used... Funny enough, it's almost like a fairy tale type name to the bad guy that took them out. I can't remember what they call it.
I'm looking real fast. We'll see if we can track it down.
Yeah. I wrote notes for these things, so I'd know what they're called.
Yeah, except
I didn't
now. Write notes. Yeah, but basically, all the fables were living in their different kingdoms that we know them as. The adversary.
Adversary.
I knew it was a normal word.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's going to bother me.
Yeah, it's very much like, it's almost like a fairy tale, the tale of them getting kicked out of their town by the adversary, which is the big bad guy, big bad army that took them down, which is cool. I thought that was a cool storyline.
Yeah, and so it's them trying to adapt to a world, and they still have a celebration to remember their time before they had to live amongst the mundies, which is the everyday people who aren't fables, which I thought was a great term. It's got that Muggle thing again with Harry Potter. It reminded me a lot. The setup and the world's connected and hidden reminded me a lot of Harry Potter. But so the mundies. Yeah. So Volume 1 is basically the story of Bigby Wolf going through and trying to track down, with Snow White's help, who is responsible for the disappearance or death of her sister, Rose Red. So it's a really good introduction, and it was very well done. The second one is called Animal Farm. It picks up after the events of the first one. They are connected, but it's where Snow White goes to a place known as the farm, because people like Snow White and Prince Charming and even Bigby Wolf they're humanoid enough that they're able to blend into society with the help of magic and charms. But there are some, like the Three Little Pigs, or a bunch of characters from Alice in Wonderland, like the White Rabbit,
Shere Khan, the bears, the three bears.
Yeah, the ones who aren't human enough, they can't live in New York City, because that would draw some attention. So what they do is they gave them a place to live called the farm. And so while Snow White's up there checking on the inhabitants of the farm, she stumbles upon a sort of mysterious... there's a political change afoot amongst some of the inhabitants that's going to pit some of them against each other. And I don't want to give too much away, because a lot of the book is based around that
what
conflict.
Happens, yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to say everything about the first issue basically is based around.
Yeah, it's like she gets to the farm, and the farm's apparently set up where there's a magical charm around the area, so nobody goes snooping. Like, oh man, there's some talking pigs hanging out over there. People kind of basically just avoid the area. But she gets there. The guy who is set up to run the farm isn't there anymore. They say he just kind of quit and left. The the telephones are cut. It starts getting very suspicious, and then it continues into the storyline. So yeah, that's the basis of the second book.
Yeah, can't say a lot about it except that it's got a lot of characters. In there, not even that are named, but just a lot in the artwork. That it's fun, especially these books have got to be a blast if you are really into fables and fairy tales. Because I feel like I know a bunch of them, but at the same time, there are a bunch of characters that I did not know head nor tail of.
Yeah. Speaking of which, these are written and created by Bill Willingham is the writer and creator of these. We'll get to the artist when we get to the art section, but he made both of them, even though art teams change. But yeah, no, I liked this storyline. It was interesting. It was all of these characters integrated into a regular life. You get a feeling of how they've had to integrate their life. Like Beauty and the Beast are arguing because Beast is turning back into a beast because Beauty gets mad at him or something like that. And I mean, basically, he can't walk around as a person anymore. And they say, well, if you can't buy a charm to fix it, if you can't, figure out what's going wrong, you're gonna have to go to the 4th floor, which is apparently where higher up of people, like higher up of Fables that can't walk around normally, but at the same time afford enough money to live in the city and live with the other Fables go. So like it's cool seeing the integration of like, it's a system that's already set up. Everything's got rules. Everything's got. I thought it was really cool. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, and the Beauty and the Beast part especially was great because the whole thing with his charm, he's only human because he convinced Beauty to fall in love with him, and that's the thing. But whenever she gets angry enough with him and kind of falls out of love somewhat, he starts to turn back into a beast, which is really amusing as a concept because she says they've been married for at least hundreds of years, and
almost thousands of years. Because apparently all the Fables don't age, I assume. So all of them
or they age much slower.
Yeah,
or
something along those lines. So everybody, like all of these people, that the war, that happened a while ago, happened a long time ago. So they have been here for a while. But I liked because Beast is growing fangs again. So like they take into account, and he can't speak correctly because his fangs can't fit in his mouth. So like it was such a pain in the butt reading that, but it made sense though. Like it was just like and she's sitting there like Beauty's like he's saying this is just really annoying. Please fix him. It was just great.
This is what I have to live with. You try being married to someone for centuries and not have a couple ups and downs in the relationship. It's that kind of a twist on a lot of the characters where it's kind of dark, really. That's just the interpretation, but
that's probably like my favorite part of the book. Not even the whole storyline, anything like that, but the mundane things that get either blown out of proportion or the snarky remarks or things like that. Because there's a lot of that throughout this, and they're spaced out just enough to keep it interesting while you still have a decent and coherent plot.
I really, 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 really like the characters and how well they're written. Like Beast and Beauty and the Beast, right? Beast is, he's a nice guy. Like the whole time he's like, "Hey, Snow White, can you help me? Like this is really inconvenient. Can you do something?" And like Beauty's like, "This is really annoying. Come on, do something. You can do something, Snow White." And like, so Beast is this calm, nice thing, which he kind of almost was in the book, and Beauty's getting more annoyed by it, but like by his nature, he's nicer. And it was just kind of nice how it was, all these things were added into their character, but without being tropish and without being too overcoming. Like Prince Charming apparently just goes and, sleeps with women, which is funny because he basically rescued a woman and then married her 10 seconds later, so it was kind of like the story of his life, and this is what he is. It was just funny, like all these characters, how their stories were integrated into how their character was in the book. I liked it. I liked it a lot. And then how some characters evolved. Like, I assume Snow White evolved since she divorced Prince Charming, apparently, to become a lot more powerful of a woman, I guess.
Yeah, she has a high-ranking political job.
Like, right below the mayor, king, emperor
old King Cole.
Yeah, she is the king bureaucrat.
Yeah, pretty much. I also like, it's never hinted at, and I'm glad and sad, they hinted, at least when Beauty was getting really mad at Snow White, that there was something that happened between, like, some sort of tryst between her and the dwarves.
Yeah,
but like, oh, come on, now we don't mention the dwarves. It's like whoa, what's happening there? Like, I don't know, it struck me as really funny. It's well written, it's well written. So
it's nice, and it takes a lot of stuff into thought. Like they say that there's a point of amnesty where it's after a certain, like, you're forgiven for all the things you did in Fabletown, hence why, like, Big Bad Wolf is allowed to be around a lot of these people, because he killed a lot of people, and he broke a lot of houses and ate pigs and things. Like, he wasn't a great guy, but he came here and, he corrected himself, but you forget the things you did back then, and you just try to move on, which was cool. I hadn't even thought about it when I was like, oh, Big Bad Wolf, that's really cool that he's here. Oh, yeah, he has control over people he terrorized and tried to eat. How does that work out? It's like, it was cool.
Well, I feel like if you live thousands of years, like they say that they do, you make a mistake, I guess? You make mistakes with your life in a period of 1,000 years. I'm going to be the first person to say, we make mistakes in our short lifetimes, and we live a good long time, and we should probably have an amnesty period.
Well, why are you bringing our own mortality into this?
She's trying to bring the room down here.
I can tell. Kind of.
But no, I mean, it makes sense that they would have this period of, all right, we've all lived for way too long. That grudge happened 970 years ago. You gotta let it go.
Well, it's also, like, the Fable universe. Are we talking about parallel universes? But the Fable universe was much bigger, and some of these people didn't interact. Like, they mentioned that.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of these guys weren't in the same kingdoms. I mean, kingdoms are huge, and they weren't anywhere near the same kingdoms. So now that you're in New York, like, Big Bad Wolf could live on the other side of the mountain, and the pig somewhere else, and he just came terrorized and left. But now he has to live with the pig.
Yeah.
So it was like one of those things where it was like you just have to, you definitely have to, forget what happened and move on, type of thing. It was cool.
One of them's a cranky wolf. The other's a pig. Sorry, but yeah, that actually, I think when it comes to the art part, I want to talk about some of the kingdoms they discuss actually in the one.
Yeah.
When they're discussing the amnesty, because the amnesty, I think they described as it was a necessary development when oh my gosh, I forgot his name again.
The adversary.
Thank you. Oh my gosh, I was going to have such a hard time. The adversary basically chased them all away, and they're like, well, we got to kind of unite here. But I know some of us may or may not have eaten and or terrorized others, so we're going to have to sign a paper and just say, hey, look, we all have to move on, otherwise this isn't going to work. So,
yeah, it was whoop whoop. I don't think I have anything else.
Yeah, I think that pretty much covers the story there without getting into the spoiler territory.
Yeah. Oh, also, I don't know if we mentioned Jack is dating Rose Red.
Oh,
just
yeah,
semi-important storyline point.
Yeah,
Jack was the guy who ran into Big B Wolf and said, "Hey, somebody's murdered." And it's Rose Red. So, yeah, that's a semi-important storyline.
Yeah. Jack of the Beanstalk fame.
Yes.
Which, it's always fun. It's a lot of people, man. Like, there were some fables that I was like, I don't even know this story, but I had to admit, it did make me want to look and see who these people actually were. But, yeah.
Or animals.
Yeah, as the case may be.
Yeah, so, I guess on the art, we're all good with story?
Yeah, sounds good to me.
Everybody got? Okay,
Everything else is too spoiler-tastic.
Yeah. So yeah, no, the art was done, the penciling was done by, Lan, Medina on the first one, and then ink was done by Steve. This one's...
I love this part.
I know.
It's my favorite part of it.
It's a terrible last... sorry, not a terrible last name. Leia Loa? LeialohA. There's a lot of vowels.
Yeah.
There's a lot of vowels.
It's almost like you're trying to say hello or goodbye in the middle of...
Or both.
It was an aloha joke, because it's... Yeah.
Yeah. The second book is penciled by Mark Buckingham, who is so much easier to pronounce his name.
Thank you, Mark.
I appreciate the switch.
The art doesn't... It doesn't change a ton. I mean, there's some minute differences where I noticed the difference in the art. I feel like the coloring changed mostly, more so than the art itself. I feel like it was a bit better quality in the first one, and then the second one it dipped a bit for like penciling and inking wise. But past that, I mean, the art's barely noticeably different.
I don't know that it dipped. It really more changed style, I guess. I mean, it went from more of like a brighter, almost like your classic, almost superhero style coloring, to something a bit more like a traditional, like a 90s comic, a little bit more darker, grittier type of thing.
Yeah, that's... If I had to describe the artwork overall of both, it made me think of Watchmen, because I'd read that before I saw the movie.
Yeah.
And it reminded me, when I first opened it up, it looked like looked like Watchmen, which was kind of like that late 90s-ish style. Yeah. So.
You know what I think it is? I think it's gradients. Gradients in color. Like, all of a sudden, all of the color... Like, the beginning book, colors are pretty much solid, and you can tell. But then in the second book, there's so many gradients, and it very much looks like it's colored on a computer.
Oh. There you go.
Which might be what's really drawing my eye, but yeah, no, like, I mean, it's slight differences. You're not going to notice a difference. It's not like, trying to think of what else we read. Walking Dead. There we go, that was the one I was thinking. Like, that was a huge difference, and we talk a lot about it, but this one is very minute. Yeah. I mean, otherwise, the art wasn't nothing to shake a stick at. I liked it. It was good. They did a lot of the creatures well. I liked a lot. They have a lot of unique creatures and animals and this and that, which were all done well. I don't know if that was
that was just a text message which we're gonna ignore. Boopity boop boop boop. There you go. Yeah, no, I wanted to say
you've received a private message at your terminal.
Don't say it. Now we have to do a trademarking plug.
That's why I didn't say it correctly.
Don't make us do it. So, yeah, no, my big thing with the art that I greatly enjoyed was when they were talking towards the end of the first volume, they start going through basically about how the adversary slowly creeped in and took over and this and that, and they named a bunch of different kingdoms that fell, and based on the description of the kingdom, it was kind of interesting to see. They said, what was it? They said that first, the Emerald Kingdom fell, and from the look of it, it really gave off a Wizard of Oz kind of vibe. And then the Lion's Kingdom fell, and
that was almost like and
they said it was like the lion was holier than thou, and the whole thing. It's like, oh, is that a Narnia?
What's the name of the book? The something in the wardrobe.
Lion, Witch
in the wardrobe. There
yeah.
we go. I was gonna say that was the book originally.
Yeah.
90% certain they took it from the book. Probably too old to watch the movie. Just saying.
Well, no, I meant.
No.
Yeah. The place was called Narnia. Whatever. But yeah, so like there's a lot of things like that are kind of fun to look at and try and guess who's who in the artwork, because they'll throw a name out there, but they usually give an idea, either through like a joking comment, like, was it like Little Boy Blue is in it, and you're like, why don't you go blow your horn? I'm like, oh, I know that rhyme. Okay, I know who you are. I thought so. Or they'll have some passing comment, but other times they'll just kind of list someone's name, especially in the second volume, like with the different animals and everything. And it's just like, well, I wonder who you are. I hope I, pick up on this reference. But it's fun to look at the artwork and try and guess who's who.
Yeah, no, definitely. I liked, one of the things I mentioned was I liked how the royalty, anybody who was royalty, so like Snow White, Prince Charming, Beauty, were all pretty in the book. Actually, they were drawn very well and pretty. Like, Prince Charming didn't have too many details or wrinkles or anything on his face, whereas some other people who weren't royalty or weren't seen as pretty in the fairy tale, like Jack, like Rugged had stubble on his face, Big Bad Wolf had stubble on his face, and was so it was kind of funny how it was I just thought it was interesting that these people who were conventionally pretty were depicted as pretty in the book, and it was just a cool nod yet again to the characters, making them with the fairy tale as a background. It's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yep. Just making. I also enjoyed. I don't know if this went throughout the book because I wrote this in volume 1, not spoiler section, and then didn't write anything about 2. But they did have a lot of nice. I guess we were pointing out some stuff, but they did have a lot of nice detail in some of the overarching shots. I know it's a weird one to point out, but Prince Charming had a sex scene with the waiter lady thing, and he's in the bed, but on the other, you're having a top-down view of her apartment, which is apparently very small, and you see on the other side of the wall there's 2 girls, and they have their ears to the wall, and I was like, whoa. And then there's a rat on the top, top part of the wall. I was like, oh, that's cool. There was some cool details. Anytime you did an overarching shot of a bunch of people, from the Fables, you were like, oh, look, hey, there's there's some people, there's some creatures, there's some other stuff. You might have been able to point out some characters that you knew. It was really cool, the details that they put into some of the art.
Yeah, Bluebeard's castle was like that too.
Yeah,
that was really
even
neat.
a Snow White's office. I loved all the crud in it. There was a ship, and there was a tree, and there was flying monkeys. There was a lot of stuff.
I also like that you can explain, how did you fit all this in here? Magic. Where did you get magic? Internet.
Yeah,
it's very much a just well, it costs a lot of money. I love that that's the thing. Is it's they're like, I'm gonna go visit the Witch of the Black Forest and just see if I can get a charm to fit my castle inside this office. And it's like, oh, okay.
They keep mentioning like the witches and the wizards that do these spells. They gotta be really rich because they're nowhere to be found throughout all of this book. I've not seen a witch and or wizard throughout this whole book. Like they have to be rolling in money because of all of these charms and spells and things that they're doing. I'm like, they probably live it on like good streets of New York. Possibly not even in New York would be nice and preferable. Yep.
No, agreed. That's a good point.
Yeah, they kept mentioning it. I was like, that's weird. I wonder where, like, they didn't even mention, like, because, mention people, and they'll be like, oh, the people that can't be out on the street, they're on the 4th floor. Like, I didn't even hear, like, they didn't say, like, oh, the 1st floor is designated for witches and wizards. Like, no, nothing. They're well off.
Wonder where they are. I'm suspicious of them. Although I think at one point... Oh, there was one point I think where Bigby actually accuses one of going back to eating people instead of gingerbread or something, which I don't think I'm making that up. Pretty sure I read it. I didn't write it down. Yeah, this is from my brain.
Yeah, I remember that comment.
Yeah, I remember that comment, but I don't remember exactly where it is.
Yeah, that's like the one time they show it, and I thought, but like that's the kind of subtle nod to like characters, like which witch? Oh. The one that with Hansel and gotcha.
Yeah. I like
gotcha.
Because they were interrogating people. That was such a weird one. It was like, you were completely unrelated. Did you eat her? Like, it was like, okay, whatever, Bigby. Like, just go accusing people.
That did seem to be his style of investigation.
You did this. No, I didn't.
Prove it. Here.
Okay.
Good day.
Oh my God. Speaking of Bigby, I loved. There was one shot, and they're going somewhere. And it's Snow White and Bigby, and Bigby like is walking up the stairs, and then like light shines on him in such a way, and like his shadow is a trenched coat wolf. And I was like, that's so cool. I was like, that blew my mind. I like that.
Yeah, it was really neat because it showed the whole spell glamour thing. Kind of, it was really cool. It's also a part where he actually kind of reverts
to wolf.
Yeah, he reverts to wolf.
Wolf-like,
which makes me wonder what like kind of spell he has on it, because he gets angry at somebody and he goes off and like...
You wouldn't like Bigby when he
I was going to say. So he basically hulks out. Yeah.
He hulks out, which is weird. Like, I'm like, is that like, does he choose, or is it just because he has an extreme emotion, or like extreme anger, or like that's weird.
Or if because it's a Tuesday, or...
Who knows?
No, didn't discuss. I will say that scene also had... I love that Snow White tried to help by bringing a sword, but it was the Vorpal sword that killed the Jabberwocky. I'm sorry, Big Allison. I love that poem, so that made me happy. But the fact
I love that just showed up.
I love that she just has that. She's just like,
and I love that Bigby's like, you should probably put that down. That is a problem. Why are you carrying that like that?
She literally had it on her shoulder, where like she has the blade, in her hand, and then it over her shoulder. So Bigby's like, that thing's gonna cut off your neck like that. You shouldn't hold it like that. And I was like, that is a very good point.
It cuts things in one swing. That's what it does. Like one shot. Don't put that near your head.
It was pretty great. I liked it. I like to think that she has it on hand, just like break in case of emergency.
Vorpal sword. Oh dear.
Yeah, no, that's about all I had for art, really.
Yeah,
it was enjoyable. I liked it. There was
a lot of hidden
stuff,
stuff, but not much else to say.
Yeah, creatures were really good. I liked the pigs looked different, and I could tell the difference between like pigs aren't something that you generally have to draw a ton of and make them look different. But all the three little pigs, who weren't all that little, but I guess they grew, were very different to the point of I could recognize which one was which, and so on and so forth. So like all the animals that were very similar, I could tell the difference. They were all drawn very well. I liked it.
Mm-hmm. Indeed.
Good.
Yeah.
And that means spoilers.
Spoilers. Vroom vroom. Spoilers.
Spoilers.
Eowyn kills the Witch King.
Oh, dude, that's recent.
He only said spoilers
Paul,
like 5 times before that.
How old is that book?
Oh, well. Oh, you well played, sir. Well played.
I feel like Martin Freeman did that with The Hobbit. He was like, "Oh, I'm just gonna tell you something." I'm like, "Aren't those spoilers?" He's like, "The book's been out forever." It's great. I was just like, "You go, Martin Freeman."
Martin Freeman's pretty awesome. Okay.
Yeah, spoilers.
That's not a spoiler. Martin Freeman's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I liked Volume 1. I liked it a lot. It was a beginning to end detective, but it was really cool. And I liked almost the fourth dimension-y breaking that Bigby did when he was like, "No, I'm a detective and I get to do this thing where I get to reveal to you how it happened and how I figured it out." Just like in the storybooks that I read, which is kind of weird because he is a storybook basically, but he's like, "No, I'm doing this." He's a
storybook character inside of another storybook based on storybook characters.
It was just, it was just like nice to see, I guess, a Fables clinging to being like the books.
Traditional and tropey?
Like the books. Like, it's like so weird. Yeah.
This is our parlor scene. Do we have to be in a parlor? No, we don't have to actually be in a parlor. Just stand there. Let me do this.
I kind of imagined in my head the scene from the movie Clue towards the end where they're describing how they did it. Literally with Bigby going around. And he grabbed the knife like this.
Yeah. There was definitely an element to that. I guess we can say the big spoiler.
The big spoiler of issue 1 was Rose Red didn't
Rose Red
die.
faked her own death.
Yeah.
I feel like a guy who, a wolf detective that has possibly killed before and had said and was able to sniff blood and be like, "Yeah, that's Rose Red's," would be able to recognize that some of the blood was older and frozen. Like, I feel like that's a thing. I'm not a blood-smelling wolf detective specialist.
I'm just your humble southern blood-smelling wolf detective, but it seems to me here that I'm sorry. That's just you said you started 3 different sentences with that kind of sentence. I'm sorry. That's hysterical. But yeah, no. But I like with that whole setup though that they did give clues, like all the art they showed,
all of everything that was like. It wasn't like they were like, and this happened, and they cut back to something that didn't happen in the story. Like, they literally cut back to that panel. They're like, "Remember when that happened and I drew that?" That point right there.
Remember when I took the time to draw that? Pay more attention to my art. Because everything was in there, and you could have, if you knew what to look for earlier on, because it was very early in the book before you sniffing around for clues on your own. So they can kind of get away with it. It worked out really well, I thought. That you get to actually go back there. I'm like, oh, yeah, that's true. No, that's a good point.
I liked how, Bigby's, like, the scene of the crime was, horrific. Like, there was blood everywhere and everything's ripped up. And I love how Bigby's like, "That was a stupid crime scene. There was blood everywhere. When does that happen?" I was just like, I believed it. I'm like, thanks, Bigby. You were telling a story and I was supposed to believe that was believable.
No, I feel stupid.
But, also, I don't get, I guess Bigby told Jack, was like, "Jack, I figured it out. Here's how it happened." And then Jack outed Rose Red. I was about to say Red Rose.
Yeah.
Because it was just weird that he was just like, "Well, here she is. Well, that sucks. Well, see you later." Like, okay, I solved the crime. I don't know, it was weird to me.
He didn't seem too bright. I mean, he lost all his money in, an internet.com scheme.
Yeah, which...
Yeah.
Jack never has been too bright.
Which was amazing. That was another thing that, added to his story without being, blatantly being like, "This is Jack, he did the beans thing, now he's doing internet things." No, it was, without blatantly being it was he puts all of his money and all of his beans into, one thing, one area.
One very stupid,
and then,
blows
thing. Blows all of it in hopes of it getting big.
That sounds, yeah.
Which was cool. It was cool. It was a character design and flaw based on
his own
a fairy tale.
There was a lot of that stuff, which was great. Or even old King Cole was a merry old soul, and he was
merry and old, and that's about it.
Yeah, and he would honestly empathize with people, and then be like, "Yeah, Snow White, I can't do this hard political decision. You do it." And she'd have to.
You bureaucrat.
you be bureaucrat. Yeah.
It was good. I liked it. I liked I loved Pinocchio. who was added in for no reason because they
other than the jokes, which is what I really like about this book. There are characters that are just there and lines that are there,
like the witch who ate people. It was another one where it was just like, did you eat people? It was like I understand that she's the witch that ate kids, but yeah, whatever.
Yeah, Pinocchio literally, like, somebody's like, oh, why you're happy? You're a real boy, and he's like, no, I've been a 10-year-old boy for forever. My balls haven't dropped. I haven't had sex. This life is awful. When I find that fairy, I'm gonna choke her out.
It was great. It was just pretty funny.
There's a lot of those. Like, what is it? In the second book, Goldilocks.
That's my favorite.
With the three bears, and she's like, "Why do you think I shacked up with Baby Bear?" And Papa Bear's like, "Because Baby Bear's hung like a."
Like, it was great.
It's like you're having sex with my son.
Oh man, yeah.
Oh my God.
The Goldilocks, I think, I don't know. Maybe that's my problem. Okay, because the first volume I liked a ton more than the second.
Yes,
but then again, the second one also leaves room for further expansion and this and that. But Goldilocks was one of the best characters in it, second only to Chicken Little.
Who yet again had great story based on his fairy tale.
Okay, we can actually say it. It's basically Chicken Little. Well, Goldilocks, one of the heads of the political.
Like
we're going to take
the
back,
revolution of the farm.
Yeah, the farm revolution. We're going to take back our homeland from the adversary, and not going to stand for this being on the farm anymore.
Not going to listen to the proletariat anymore.
Yeah, so like that whole thing, which is just great, but like. But between Goldilocks being this activist character, Chicken Little wins because every time they're in some sort of meeting,
anything happens, and somebody's like, "Yes," and Chicken Little's like, "I didn't do it. You can't frame me. I can't go back to jail. Like,
I can't do this.
I won't survive in there. They'll grill me."
Like, it was great.
It's like, Chicken Little, calm down. Like, Snow White walks in on one of their meetings. He's like, I didn't do it! There's no way you can tie me to it.
Nothing's going on here. There's no revolution. What are you talking about? I just walked in the door.
Yeah.
How is everybody? How's everybody doing? I was just checking on you.
Yeah,
What's he talking about?
She was pretty thick, though, I will say.
But I felt like it was still, like, storyline, because it was like, I mean, she got walked out by the hunter, and then the hunter had to tell her, I'm going to kill you, leave now. She took an apple from a strange old lady that came out to the middle of the woods where nobody else lived nearby and handed her an apple and she ate it. Like, literally, this is the point, is Snow White's character is she just doesn't, things don't go through her head, and it continues in the story where, like, literally they kill one of the three pigs, which, speaking of which, that third pig had the best storyline ever, because he starts out in the first book, and he goes to Big Bad Wolf's house. Like, he goes in the city illegally. And then he's like, Big Bad Wolf, you owe me one because you blew down my house. So I get to stay at your house. So he stays at his house, which Big Bad Wolf, Bigby makes ham and eggs and offers it to him, which I think is hilarious as well.
Great, yeah.
Again, yes, more of that tongue-in-cheek, like, snarky, ha-ha.
Yeah, and then throughout the whole first volume, you see the pig constantly getting caught, put in a car to go to the farm, and then escaping, and then, like, sleeping around in the city, which is hilarious. And then in this one, you figure out that he was supposed to, like, be reconnaissance for, the farm animals, and he failed at, doing his job. So they cut his head off and put it on a stake outside of her car, and she's like, well, I guess everything's fine. I better sit here and figure out what's going on. It's like, Snow White, please, like, her sister's like, please leave. Like, stop. You're the worst.
Are you not aware that this is not good?
And then
These are things that aren't normal.
And then my favorite is, the guy who was the head of the town.
Oh, what was his name?
I forget what his name was, but he was the head of the town, and then they took him out because he was a human, so, like, they were like, well, this is unfair, he's human, why should he run us animals? So he was trapped and shackled, by the animals, and made to make their weapons for the revolution, to go back to take back their home place. So then they make him make shackles for her to stay there. He makes a key because his charm only lets him not make his key for his escape. He makes the key, she unlocks, and then she tries, like, cutting off his, like, foot, literally. And then a fox comes in and goes, Snow White, maybe you should use that key that he made you. It seems like the same exact lock. and she uses it, and his charm breaks off, and he's like, "You are the stupidest, like, what? I made you a key, I literally put it down in front of your feet, I couldn't say anything, but, oh my god," like, he was gonna punch her, and it was great, I was so, I loved it.
Wayland Smith.
I don't know,
Yeah.
I don't get his fairy tale reference, he probably is one, but he's a big burly man.
Yeah.
Like, Jesus Christ. But no, I love that character. That character trait really showed up mostly in the second issue.
Yeah.
For Snow White. But I like, at first I was annoyed by it because she wasn't picking up on anything, and then I realized it was really, like, something, yet again, something that was a character trait from this story.
Mm-hmm.
I went off on a tangent for like an hour.
No, that was a good tangent that we were all going to have.
Yeah, I was going to be honest, because I didn't take it to that extent, and I'm like, oh yeah, you're right, that actually makes her decision make a lot more sense, because I was finding myself siding with Rose Red a bit there, and I'm like, hey, you want to, wisen up a bit? Though I will say, the end of this second book got brutal. Like, they decide, okay, they put down the rebellion with the help of a dragon, which is, whenever you're putting down a rebellion with the help of a dragon, pretty sweet. But
yes.
Then they're like, well, I guess we gotta, organize and sort everything out. Yeah, so the remaining 3 little pigs, you guys were, the 2 pigs that were left, you were the ringleaders. We're gonna execute you via...
They literally have an image of a guy with an axe cutting their heads. One of them has their head cut off and is being dragged away bloodily, and the other one's like, "Oh, you better not mess up on my head chopping offing."
I also really like that they put, like, Prince Charming in charge of the military tribunals.
He was doing nothing before, and then it was just like, "No, you're..."
Yeah, they're like, "No, you're a douchebag,
stuff.
So you're gonna run the trials."
And
he's like, death to the infidels.
That was the other thing that Snow White did, was, what was it? Basically everything happened, stuff was happening where it was like, oh, this is turning bad, you should probably leave. Rose Red caught onto it, went to go and say, I'm on the side of the bad guys, went to them, helped them, but said, don't kill my sister, I'll help you. And then, so that happened, and she outed herself to Snow White at some point, and then Snow White was really mad at Rose Red, because she was like, she turned on me, that was the worst, how could she do this? And, like, Bigby's like, she helped you, she made sure you didn't die, you're lucky that she was there, like, it was great.
You are the thickest individual.
Oh my god, it was awesome.
Yeah. Also, Goldilocks with a sniper rifle.
Yeah, that was... Yeah, she grabs the giants and the dragon, and yeah, like, everybody gets dispersed because giants and a dragon. So, like, you surrender. But Snow White gets shot in the head by Goldilocks with a sniper rifle.
I'm a little upset it didn't kill her.
It was intense.
Well, that's a little dark of a sentence.
No, this book would have gotten way more interesting without Snow White.
Oh, but they explained it, though. I wrote it.
Yeah,
I think. I was going to say. I think the point was they used all their resources, magical and medical, to get her back because she was a big name fable for people, which is weird. I mean, they didn't say magical. I assumed because it was pretty. That was a pretty good headshot. Like,
yeah, that was square on. And
see, now that's where in the confrontation that Rose Red, after months and months of recovery, Rose Red confronts Snow White and basically says, "Look, the whole reason that you're still alive is because the Mundies adore her by the millions. And so basically, because we, as normal people, keep telling her story and reimagining her story and keeping her story alive, to use the phrase, they won't let you die," was the phrase that was used. And so what I interpreted that as
was like the Mundies keep her alive, basically, by telling her story. Oh, that's cool. Okay, I didn't even...
that was where I was getting ready to go with it. I feel like that's part of what's going on with the adversary somehow, is that when the advent of technology, the fables are getting neglected or something crazy like that. I feel like there's a big overarching moral story that we're not going to get in 12 issues.
Yeah, so I took it in an almost opposite direction where it was going to be weird, like if Snow White died, her story would die, where nobody would remember Snow White. So they used a lot of resources because she was a big name, and if she died, it would drag down on the rest of the Fables and being believed in. That's what I took it. But yeah, I guess both ways. I don't know. They don't specify. Yeah, literally, like Paul read you the lines. They don't specify, but I guess
at least not yet.
Yeah,
yeah. At least in the first couple. Although I loved that as an idea. I'm like, oh, that's really cool. But at the same time, now that raised the question for me is, I'm like, so they're hiding in the world from the regular people who know about them but only think they're fantasy stories. So to me, I liked the concept, but then that also opened this whole big thing where it's like, whoa, so...
Yeah, because it's weird, the relationship between the Mundies and the Fables, because, like, you get this feeling that the Fables, like, they lived out their lives in the Fable universe, and then people got their story and a rendition of their story or what happened to them from there. I got the feeling that like Snow White ate an apple, maybe it was a pear, who knows? But then somebody related as an apple, and it came as a story as opposed to like the actual thing that happens. Like like how like history's written and some things are left out type of thing. So like. It's hard to say what the relationship is, because it's a parallel universe, like they're not the same place. They came here. So it's really weird because you don't know where the stories come from or how they leak through the universes or how, like anything. It's a really weird. They haven't explained it yet, but
yeah, they might go into it in more detail in later volumes, but from what I can tell, it's interesting. It's opened a door that I hope they address at some point, because it's such a minor thing, and it's a cool concept, and I wish I could just say, oh, it's a cool concept and leave it at that. But in the back of my mind, I'm like, how does that work with them not wanting to be known if they're known?
Yeah, it was nice though, because I hate when stories are like, and I'm the plot device to tell you what's going on. Okay, I'm going to explain everything for you. Like, I like when books are like, they give you leaked hints and clues. Like, you get the war only because it's the celebration of the day that they left and a hopefulness towards going back, that they retell the story of what happened. So it was well written into the story that you got the storyline of how they got into the Mundy world. But it wasn't like forced. Like, here's a plot device. Like, it was nice. So I enjoy that I don't know, but I also really want to know.
It's almost like they want you to keep reading it.
Oh, man. I was gonna say, I like the I like the ending that, because it was. I think what really drew me to my thought process was that. When they killed the 3 little pigs, who, like I said, they weren't all that little. So they killed the 3 little pigs, and then they transformed the 3 giants that they used into the 3 little pigs, and then, like, the dragon into a raven, so that they were more, more suitable to live on the farm, as opposed to they were, like, sleeping for, like, thousands of years. So that's where I took it as they needed the 3 little pigs, because somehow, like, the human race was still connected and still, like, almost still reading their story. Like, they were still living out their story, so they were connected. They needed a replacement for the 3 little pigs.
They did say something like, okay, yeah.
So that's where I think I got my line of thought, where they needed Snow White to still be around because they couldn't replace her. Like, they were saying, like, oh, nobody's going to notice about these 3 little pigs because they're the same, like, nobody knew the 3 little pigs' names anyway. They're 3 little pigs. Here's pigs. Have fun. Like, so it was pigs that were able to replace it, but Snow White was a bigger figure and, like, a noticeably different person if you changed her. So that's where I got my line of thought.
And also not convicted of treason.
Yes.
Yes.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
No, that's true. I remember that. I didn't read it that way, but now that you mentioned, I'm like, oh, Well, that opens some doors.
I'm going to go off on a tangent again about somebody who I like their character based on what they are.
Nah.
I like Bluebeard a lot. Bluebeard was a good pirate. He was obviously a pirate where he came from, came to the real world and had to live on the rules, but he bent the rules in such a way that it was still, like, it was on the edge of illegal. Because he got his money by trafficking people between the Fables world and the Mundy world, so he got, like, all of these treasures from it, and then just basically used it to, like, in the wrongest ways he does wrong things, but he does them legally. So he's a bad guy. Like, he is an evil character, he's a bad person, but he's basically, is that. Because, like, the reason Rose Red kills herself, or pretends to kill herself, is because to borrow money for one of Jack's weird ideas, she says, hey, Bluebeard, let's get married, actually pay me money now and I'll promise to marry you in a year. They're supposed to get, like, the money back and pay him back and be like, screw you, no marriage, and then, whatever. But, that didn't happen, so on and so forth. But, I mean, like, literally, he signed a contract with a woman and said, yeah, I'll marry you in a year. Like, it was so weird, and he was so, like, even when Rose Red came back and was like, she didn't die for real, it was just faked, like, Bluebeard was like, no, you owe me a wife, she's marrying me. Like, he was an asshole, but it was, like, he was a pirate. Like, he was like, nope, I have paperwork, this is legal, I am a jerk. It was great. I loved Bluebeard.
And that's how Congress was started.
Yeah, I guess one side that we've touched on a couple times, but Prince Charming, different fairy tales use the name Prince Charming as someone, like it's Snow White and Prince Charming and Cinderella and Prince Charming. It's always, Prince Charming. You don't know the name, it's probably Prince Charming, the Prince Charming guy. Well, I like that they took that in this and made it where Prince Charming is the same Prince Charming. He just sleeps around, and he's married. Like, he married Snow White first, and then married Cinderella at a different point in time. Like,
and then talked his way out of paying for dinner and had sex with a waitress.
Yeah.
I also love how he didn't have a name. His Prince Charming was his name. Like, at least that's what he revealed, because, like, the waitress was like, so what's your name? And he's like, I don't need any name more than Prince Charming or something. You're like, why does it matter? My name's Prince Charming. Like, and it was so funny. I was just like, oh, okay, so your name's just Prince Charming, which is hilarious. Because, yeah, it's like, I sleep with you one night, get money, marry you, and then divorce you when you're not useful anymore, which is what his character is, so why would you need to know his name anyway? Like, good enough.
Yeah, it was good. Yeah, it's like I said, I like that character a lot, but he still ranks below Chicken Little. Because Chicken Little's
really
my favorite.
Character.
I'm going to be honest.
He was my favorite too.
Yeah, Chicken Little was great.
I didn't do
it! Yeah. You got no evidence!
I really, Shere Khan and, oh god, what's the Jaguar's name? I forget. I forget what his name is, the Jaguar from the Jungle Book. They're gonna say it. Bagheera. There we go.
Bagheera, yeah.
Yep.
They threw me off. Like, I don't know, maybe it's just me, I didn't think of them as fairy tales, but it was really cool. And I liked how, Shere Khan's a jerkwad and just is like, Bagheera's like, so how's it going? Want to hang out this weekend? And he's like, I'm a king, screw you. Like, he's like, I am royalty, don't talk to me. Like, it was just like, oh, it's so cool that they, like, yet again, another thing I guess they dropped was, titles, because obviously you can't have, like, 12 princes in a apartment complex.
Although that's a sitcom. Yeah.
But, it was funny that they still held on to their,
I mean, heck, they wrote a song about two princes.
Just
boom.
Oh, and the old lady in the shoe with the kids.
Oh, yes,
that was great.
Paul, let's talk about it.
No, she was so. It's like they just show the shoe house, and it's like, and I kind of want to read the whole panel. I hope it's. Yeah, I'm going to read the whole panel. And it's just the old lady who lives in the shoe, and she's just like, now gather round, children. The glorious day has arrived at last. The call has gone out. Arm yourselves, and it's just her with this giant machine gun, and all her kids are like, yay! And they're like, small children saying things like, I'm gonna bust some caps in those oppressor asses! Like, direct verbatim line. And then a girl asking where her Teflon-coated Magnum rounds are, which her brother points out she had them in her Sunday school purse. That entire exchange takes up just one page, and I love every second of it. I guess the idea
Mom, Bobby stole my hollow point.
I guess the idea of children with guns amuses me, which is a terrible thing to say.
But at the same point in time, they're hundreds of years old.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I assume they're in the same situation as Pinocchio, where they're all
perpetually
very
young. In the background, there's a little, what do they call it? The crocheted, the little...
Cross stitch?
Cross stitch. There's a cross stitch that says, shoe, sweet shoe. I missed that my first time through. I greatly enjoy that. Okay, sorry. So yeah, okay. I ranted there enough. Okay.
That was one of the highlights of the second book.
Yeah, there's a lot. That and Goldilocks reminded me of a lot of people a couple people I knew from college. So minus the firearms, but just the dialogue, which is also amusing.
I like I like that they were making guns for animals, like, with helmets. Like, they were talking about, like, literally there was a helmet, and it was like, this would be worn on a tiger, and then there would be a monkey on back shooting. I'm like, wow, that's awesome. I want to see this war. Like,
yeah, it's almost a shame the revolution got stifled. Like, also, but it did get used to murder Shere Khan. Snow White just straight up Gatling guns.
I know. Well, I mean, it was killing her, but
yeah, no, I mean, it was self-defense. I totally get it. However, it was dark. I mean,
stand your ground, laws.
I mean, I don't care if the tiger is talking to me that's trying to kill me. If he's trying to kill me, he's trying to kill me. I'm going to probably shoot him.
Yeah, but she shot him once, and he goes, mercy, and she's like, no, we're going to unload an entire clip. It's like, ooh, that's still... All right, Snow White, that's... I get it, still. I
She's
totally
not the
get
sharpest tool in the shed.
I get it, but still.
I liked how, what's his face? The guy who was the owner of the town lead thing.
Waylon Smith?
Waylon Smith.
There you go.
I like how he was criticizing them, because there, communications. She was like, so do they have any communication devices? Like, do they have arms? Do you have, ammunition? Like, what do they have? And he was like, oh, well, if you were doing a smart revolution, you do communication first and then guns, but they've all put it into guns, so, like, they don't have anything. I was just like, how much do you know about revolution, Waylon Smith? Like, what are we... Huh?
Probably a lot. He's got nothing to do but read. Read and make guns.
You've made me want to know more about Waylon Smith now. You've built him up now in my mind as some great behind-the-scenes member of multiple revolutions throughout history.
He seems like the type of guy.
Well, you're right. I fully agree.
But it was just I liked it. I liked all of it. It was a really good. They were really good books. I liked them a lot, and I can't wait to read the next set.
It's funny. Up until we actually started talking through everything, I was on the fence about how I felt. But I liked them. Don't get me wrong, especially like the first one. But the second volume, I felt it got really dark. Like, they started bumping people off, and it got really explicit at some points, and I'm like, I don't know. But now that we talked through it, I'm like, yeah, no, I enjoyed this a lot. I did enjoy it. So
while we were sitting here, I quickly Googled Waylon Smith. Does anybody want to?
Yeah, sure. Lay some Waylon Smith down on us.
He's apparently a Germanic and Norse mythology. He's Waylon the Smith.
Which makes sense because he was making the guns.
Yeah. He shows up in Beowulf. That's probably where...
Oh.
Yeah.
Maybe. They pull from, like, for Fables, they pull from a lot... I mean, I guess that makes sense because it is a fable it's a legend and an epic in...
Now I hope Beowulf shows up somewhere.
So cool.
Oh, dude.
Well, I mean...
But not in 3D. That hurt.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
I think half the point was,
no IMAX.
Some, not all of the Fables made it out. A lot of, the Lion from The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe obviously got killed. He was shot to death.
Dude, straight up dead.
Yeah, so, I mean, he won't be popping up anytime soon. I assume. I mean, he was godly, I guess, or whatever. But he probably won't be. He was dead. So there was people who didn't make it over, so there are people who are possibly dead and are enslaved in Fabletown, which is kind of cool that you get to see some and not others.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense, though. Waylon Smith was drawn. He is a very burly man with a very top-heavy, and has a very big beard and long flowing locks. He is very Nordic.
Yeah, now that you mention it, I was like, yeah, that would be where I would Germanic, Nordic. That would be where I would put him.
I'm like, he has to be a Smith somewhere.
Because the only other thing I could put him with is like a railroad worker trying to.
The guy who. John Henry?
Yeah, John Henry. Yeah, like that type of look to him, like that. Like that's where I thought almost like lumberjack. But I was like, I can't think of any storylines, any fables that do that. So whatever, I'll just exist. You're just an existing person. Good, sounds great.
I mean, that's what's great though. But it was written well enough that you could just be like, oh, I don't know who that is really, but they are existing well and fulfilling a purpose in the plot. So I can go along with that. Good for you.
Yeah, and
existing.
Now it ended for real. So yeah, I liked it. I give it 2 thumbs up. I liked it.
I liked it too. Like I said, I highly recommend the first volume, and the second one, I think I do want to read more. So I guess then that is a full recommendation from me, as I'm saying I want to read more. Because the second one got dark, but I liked the themes that it was pushing towards. I would like to read more. So yes, I recommend it too.
All right, now here's the part where you're going to have to think whether I was replaced by an exact double or not. I kind of like this, too. This is kind of like a 1.5 thumbs. I'm not super excited. Like, this is great. This is the best thing ever. But no, this is pretty good. I mean, I don't have anything negative to say. If there is anything negative that I have to say, it's that I read the first 6 issues, stopped, and went, well, I really don't want to keep going because I have a satisfying conclusion.
Yeah.
And I'm good, and I'm satisfied, and there's a thing. And then I read the next 6 issues. And I'm good, and I'm satisfied, and there's a general resolution.
Yeah, there's not a lot of
I don't really want to keep going, because I know there's going to be a point where there's not going to be a satisfying resolution, and it's going to bother me. So far, pretty good. Whether I pick this up or not, Bob, you will probably pick this up and revisit this, and I won't mind that.
Yeah, it'll probably be much later, though. I don't want to... Vertigo has a lot of really good titles. For the 3 comic books I read before this,
so
all of them were Vertigo,
based
and they were
on the
good.
small sample.
Yeah. So we'll probably do it later after some other Vertigo. So that's about it.
All right, time to bring us home. If you've enjoyed what you've heard tonight, you can go ahead and find us using the series of tubes at our Facebook page at As Someone Who Doesn't Read Comics. You can find us on the Twitter at I Don't Read Comics. And you can send us your questions, comments, complaints, problems, issues, etc. To idon'treadcomics@gmail.com.
Yeah, thanks for listening.
And as always, the book was better.